Welcome to the next edition of the Many Faces of Mary Magdalene. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Natalia Dunne, and she's living in the south of France. We met during another podcast that Bart Sharp hosted us in, and it was really a nice conversation about Mary Magdalene in the eyes of millennials. And I will share this link of the interview in the show notes as well. And then I thought, well, it's actually nice to invite you also to my podcast. And I specifically invited you in during this time because you recently visited new spots around the north of Spain. And I felt really drawn to what you were sharing about this place. And I thought, well, actually, you live in the perfect region to discover new places. And I'm also very curious how you find out, and how you do this. So, Natalia, would you like to firstly introduce yourself?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I feel very honored to be in your beautiful space, and I really just love the work that you're creating and what you're putting out in the world. And so for me, it's really funny because I moved to France about 6 years ago, and it started very synchronistically. So I used to live in Canada for the longest time, and I was working as an occupational therapist. And then I started feeling this connection to the sacred feminine. And all of a sudden, I started connecting with the goddess Isis, and she kept coming through in meditations to me. And all of a sudden, I had this very strong downloaded message of like, you have to move to southern France and follow the footsteps of Mary Magdalene. And I was like, who on earth is Mary Magdalene? I don't even know who she is. And it kept coming back again and again and again. And so my human tried to figure out, like, well, how do I move to southern France? You can't just like come here. And like my husband had a job there, we had our kids. So I'm like, how am I going to make this happen? And I tried like so many scenarios and plans. And I'm like, where am I going to work there? What am I going to do there? And my human just couldn't figure this out. And so I was like, okay, universe, listen, I don't know what you want from me, but I cannot figure out a way to move. So I'm gonna release and I'm gonna leave that up to you. If I'm meant to move there, move me there.
Mm.
And literally within a month, my husband calls me from work and he's like, Nat, there is a beautiful job opportunity in Toulouse. Should I apply? And I would not have been able to plan this. He applied within like a month. Everything was settled. They were like, can you be there in September? It was June. We just looked at each other and we're like, do we just sell everything and take the kids and move to southern France? And it felt like such a powerful, like, hell yes, like you have to move. This is part of your soul mission, and you have to go and follow the footsteps of Mary Magdalene, whoever she is. And so I
Mm.
was like, okay. And so we sold everything and we just took the kids and we did this big leap of faith and we moved. And oh my goodness, it was just so magical, everything that unfolded. And I really believe that this is divine guidance, because I think if my human was trying to plan all of this, I would not be able to plan all of this and make it happen this way.
Mm.
And so, yeah, that's a little bit about my journey. And then from there, I started exploring like, who is this Mary Magdalene? And, I barely ever heard of her living in Canada. And when you come here, there is such, memory of her in these lands. There is so much history about her. There is so much mythos around her. There is so
Mm.
many legends. There are churches, like countless churches dedicated to her. And so this is kind of like how my journey to working with Mary Magdalene and exploring her story really started unveiling. And by no means do I hold the truth or know the ultimate answers about Mary Magdalene. I'm like an adventurer on
Mm.
this. And every time I feel like it's like you're uncovering, like the way I love seeing it is, she leaves like a rose petal trail. And me, I just kind of walk and pick each rose petal and see where else it leads and where else it leads. And so that's how my journey has been with Mary Magdalene. And the same thing with the sacred places. And at first I thought that the only sacred places were like around Saint Baume, where her grotto is. But the more you started diving deeper into this, the more you discovered that actually in the Southwest, closer to Spain, there is actually a lot of sacred sites connected to her as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
And the more you dive deeper into this, like, well, actually, it's not just there. There's like a whole lineage of her also extending into Spain, into Catalonia. And so this is kind of like how I just go. I just explore where it leads, and I take the next clue and explore the next clue. And it really feels like a little adventure hunt. And every time I feel the fun part is that it the more I discover and the more I learn, somehow it always leaves me with even more questions.
Yeah,
And I think this
exactly.
is part of our mysteries.
Yeah.
There's just so much to uncover.
Yeah, beautiful. And can you share me a little bit more about what those rose petals are? Like, what is a sign for you that it is like a Mary Magdalene place?
Okay, well, the way that and this is just very subjectively me, the way that it comes to me is that like if there is like, let's say I'm scrolling and like a place pops up, or I read a book and a certain, like, as if my subconscious was grabbed by the attention of a specific place. And so far, every single time, even if I was not specifically looking for them, if there is a place that keeps coming up, it just magically appears in my universe somehow. Either like I meet somebody who's like, oh, by the way, I'm going there. Do you want to come? Or like, oh, let's go there. And then like there's like a little note in the church or something like, by the way, did you see this place? And so it's like, I really feel that where specific places on earth, I think they carry specific energy, they carry specific codes. And when your human is ready to receive those codes and receive those places, you will somehow synchronistically meet, and this place becomes unveiled to you and transmits its energies. And so far, this is exactly how I discovered pretty much all of the spaces. Like I have like this example of the Mary Magdalene Grotto in the Southwest, but by the way, it's closed now.
No,
It's really sad that they closed the entrance to it.
I know.
Um, but I was looking for this grotto for the longest time, and I'm like, I know it exists. I really want to find it. I was not finding it myself, and then I found this guide who was, you know, kept changing his mind about taking me there or not. And then I went to a retreat where we almost went there, but we didn't. And I was like, oh my goodness, what with this place? And I'm like, you know what place? I'm so like grottos. I'm so ready to go and journey within myself in like the depth. I'm ready to go and receive it. Like I did like this beautiful spiritual connection with this place. And then I posted online. I'm like, oh my goodness, I posted to my friend who lives in there. I'm like, I really want to go to these grottos and this is not happening. She's like, Nat, it's not far from my house. Just come over, we'll go. And I'm like, this
Wow.
whole time, one of my very close friends was living next door, and I just didn't speak it up, and the connection didn't happen. And the moment that I felt ready to go and to be met by those places and to receive their activations, it just miraculously aligned, and I found those grottos, which are, oh my goodness, so phenomenal and so beautiful. You really feel like entering the womb of Mother Earth in there, and it has this very, yeah, just very sacred energy. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit my history with those places, and also like sometimes just exploring and reading more. And I think some places will always come up when you read. They, you can't miss them. Like Rennes-le-Château will, if
Yeah.
you start connecting Mary Magdalene, you will always fall on Rennes-le-Château, for example, right?
Yeah.
And Rennes-le-Château in itself, I think it's such a deeply mysterious place with so many codes, and the more you learn about Rennes-le-Château, the less you know. And I think it also has its own very interesting frequency of you will meet so many different people there.
Yeah.
And you will also, I think it's a place that helps you work and alchemize your own spiritual ego because you will meet so many people there who um, really love, and I'm choosing my words carefully, who really have this belief that they hold the truth. And if you suggest something that is different, sometimes it's met with a lot of um, not restrictions, but like it's not always very welcomed and met if you have different perspectives, because there is so many different stories and so many different layers of interpreting this place. And I think it really, to me at least, Rano Chateau really invited me to, expand my mind and open myself up to so many different perspectives, and to realize that nobody really truly holds the truth. And that's the mystery of this place, and that's the beauty
Yeah,
of this place as well.
exactly.
And then another place I discovered recently, it was in Tarragona. And it was really, so synchronistic. So we were staying not too far from, it's the Tarragona Cathedral that is dedicated to Saint Tecla. And Saint Tecla is also like such a interesting, woman in the story of Christianity. And, I'm like, Saint Tecla. So
Okay.
technically, she was following like a quick little note, like she was following Paul, the apostle. And, long story short, she was supposed to be married, and she decided to not get married. I think she was 19 at the time, and she wanted to follow Paul because she was like really believing in Christianity and the message of Jesus. And then he didn't want to baptize her. And the true story is that she was thrown into like this, stadium with like lots of wild animals, and then she baptized herself because she was about to die. But I really do think like she baptized herself because she wanted to reclaim her sovereignty. And if Paul didn't want to baptize her, she like, to me it's a story of like a reclamation of the feminine and like our
Mm,
authority within spirituality, which was very stripped away from women during Christianity, let's just put it this way.
mm,
And so when I saw that like her cathedral is like the cathedral of Tarragona, I was like, oh, I'm really feeling drawn to go and explore. And I'm like, and I have a feeling because the southwest of France is, filled with places that are connected to the Templars, and the Templars are always known to, carry the lineage of Mary Magdalene. And whatever churches they built, they're most often built to either John the Baptist or Mary Magdalene. And so I'm like, there must be some kind of Mary Magdalene thing in this church. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to go and explore. And so it's very beautiful because I was walking through all the chapels and I did not see her. And I'm like, but I really, really feel her frequency there. And then there's like this internal court inside with like a beautiful garden, and you can walk around in the abbey part, which was actually used to be the gardens of an ancient Roman temple, which again is so fascinating. I think
mm.
everything here is really fascinating historically. And as I was walking, there was, I passed through and then I was like, I need to go back. And I would just went a few steps back, and on the right side, there was like this kind of like a little chapel, but it was closed with a gate so that like, it would not even draw anybody's attention. And then I look, I'm like, whose chapel is that? And I looked and it was Mary Magdalene's chapel. I was like, of course
Uh,
it's Mary Magdalene's chapel. She has to be in there. And it was such a beautiful chapel. It was like very small. And, I was really touched because when I looked at it, I saw that even though it's gated and it's closed with a gate, and I don't know why they gated it, like it's such a beautiful little chapel. Um, they were red roses on the altar. And I was like, oh, that's so precious. And I sent a prayer. I'm like, whoever is taking care of this altar in this chapel is clearly somebody who feels like a beautiful connection to Mary Magdalene. And so like, I was like, oh, I'm just sending them lots of love for like, continuing it and to, keep honoring her legacy. And then I was like, just looking, it was very interesting because it was just like very beautiful depictions of Mary Magdalene in there. And that's the thing, is that there was a picture of her specifically, and I shared it on my Instagram, that on top she was lying with like a crown on her head and dressed in red. And yes, it could have been that it's a depiction of Mother Mary, because usually in classical iconography, she's always the one depicted with a crown on her head. But to
mm,
me, what's interesting is like, well, this whole chapel is dedicated to Mary Magdalene. Every single picture on this, in this chapel, on those paintings, is a part of Mary Magdalene's life. There is one of her like anointing Jesus. There is her in the grotto. Actually, it's very interesting because there is a depiction of her in the grotto being lifted by angels, and this is really connected to her presence in France. And so then why would there be Mother Mary out of, the blue? So I think what's really interesting is that I really believe that there was a lot of coded messages in the churches. And the way they were coded is sometimes that by putting those type of pictures that might be ambiguous. So they do fall under like the classical normal doctrine, but like they're also like, well, why would she be there? And is this really Mother Mary? You know, and if it's not, then is this Mary Magdalene wearing a crown? You know, and so what does that mean about Mary Magdalene herself and her lineage? So I do think it's very interesting to like visit a lot of the churches and like really ask yourselves questions, you know, like explore other alternative interpretations of what could be coded in there. And so, yeah, I think that's a little bit of how I find like special mystical places, and how Mary Magdalene like leaves the little rose petals so they go and uncover more and read more and explore more and also talk to different people. And often I think there is a lot that you can find in local folklore and in local stories that might not be transmitted in like the official, you know, biblical stories, for example.
And then you hear them by talking to people from the region.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And there was a lot of things that, you know, very interesting stories that you can discover, for example, around Rennes le Chateau by talking to people or by listening to stories of locals. And there's like a lot of very knowledgeable French, I don't even want to call them historians, but like mystery uncoverers, because it's just like, you know, the journalists, it's people like you and me who are like looking to solve this mystery of Rennes le Chateau. And they do talk to like the neighbors, they talk to people who knew somebody who lived there, people who remember the stories of their grandparents or their great-grandparents, what they would tell them about that place. And I think like a lot of that will be lost when those people are gone. And so I think it's very interesting. Like one surprising thing I uncovered recently, and that's something that I'm exploring more in depth, is that Rennes Chateau and like this whole region is actually probably connected to the Tarot of Marseille, you know, the tarot cards. And so like there is like a whole intricate symbolical system in the Tarot of Marseille that really relates to the whole Rennes le Chateau area. And there's like a lot of signs and things that really add up. So I cannot speak on it in detail because I don't think I'm very knowledgeable on this yet. And just like literally just like maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, popped into my reality like on a whole new level, because I already heard of that before. And I know there's like some little codings here and there, but like there was like this documentary I was watching in French and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so interesting. I have to go and explore. So like this is like the kind of the little rose petals that come along and yeah, just get weaved into the mythos and the history and like your own also, I think, subjective perception and feeling into those places.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's
Mm.
also part of the journey that I like so much, is to really indeed discover new places and to let your synchronicities and your, you know, this openness of synchronicities allow yourself to unveil the path as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And you know, my approach, and like this is something I see often, like in the realm of Mary Magdalene, is that there's a lot of there's like I feel like there's like two different schools of seeing this, and I feel like there's people who only do the academical and they don't want to explore anything outside of the academical. And then there is people who are like very, very, very much in the spiritual. And it's like, it's beautiful to see both of them bridge because I think both of them has very deep value. And I think if we all collectively, instead of like trying to gatekeep and protect like, oh, this is just my knowledge, I'm not going to share it with everyone. I think if we all actually shared it and open, we could unsolve, like maybe solve this mystery even faster. Maybe like uncover her story even more, and because we are all collaborating together. And to me, that represents much more her spirit and like what I think she was standing for, than trying to like gatekeep and like have this rivalry almost within her community.
Yeah, and I do really like that there is, you know, the name of this podcast is also The Many Faces of Mary Magdalene, because there are so many facets. And I recently organized the Mary Magdalene Festival. And in this festival, we had different views that were stated without making each other wrong, you know, and I really like that because one said she's not a whore, the other said she is a whore, and like, but all from coming from a different angle, and that you can feel inside of yourself what resonates for you and also what is helpful for you in your life right now. And indeed, what I love about you sharing is that places also do that to your body and to your energy, that they can uncover and unlock new potentials that you didn't know that were inside of you. So yeah, I felt your sharing of the north of Spain is definitely calling me to go there as well, to explore this area. Do you have other places in the neighborhood of, well, in the north of Spain that you find fascinating?
Well, I haven't explored north of the Spain as much, just because I don't live in Spain. I live in
Yeah.
France. So France is like my playground. I often go and explore many places, and I don't just explore places around Mary Magdalene. I really feel drawn, like, to me, Mary Magdalene is a very powerful guide, but I really feel drawn to this her story of the goddess and of the worship of the feminine. And I think Mary Magdalene is such a powerful advocate for this. But I also explore many other places connected to the veneration of the divine, of the goddess, and like how that it transformed, and through when the patriarchal systems came along, what happened to the goddess
Yeah,
worship.
because this
So
is
I think
interesting to go there, actually, to go to the goddess mystery. Why did we lose this?
100%. So like there's I feel like, to me, this is more like my area of exploration. But if I want to go back a little bit more to like also your question about Spain, I would definitely recommend going to Montserrat.
Oh yeah,
So if anyone
yeah.
hasn't been there, it is probably one of the most sacred places I've ever been, just energetically where it is located. Like when you go up this mountain and you are in the space, I feel the frequency of this place itself is just so pristine and so beautiful, that I would understand how this was a place of veneration for the divine, because there truly is something that can like almost be felt viscerally, a very precious and very divine in that space. And also what's very interesting, there's like this Black Madonna that is very beautiful, and I do feel is very, very powerful. But there is also in the area, there is monasteries and grottos connected to Mary Magdalene, and where the Black Madonna herself stands, it used to be an ancient Venus veneration site. So to me, the way that I see it is that like a lot of ancient goddess sites, when Christianity came along, they become Christianized. So they did not completely like, okay, we're gonna destroy everything and build anew, for quite a few reasons. Like, first of all, people who came, and overtook an ancient place, and this is like what syncretism, and it's not just in Christianity, syncretism happened all the time. Like whenever a new religion comes on top of the ancient, usually what they do is they kind of absorb instead of like erasing and like building anew. Partly because, there's like a very human fear of like, what if they were right? So let me not disrespect it too much. And also, on the other hand, is like very often for like very practical reasons. If you completely erase the belief of the people that you're conquering, you are risking of having a revolt and an uprising. And so you have to find like this gauge, like this middle ground where you still like, put on your beliefs and your system, but also kind of keep enough of the old not to create, an uprising.
Mm.
So that's why I would say most of the places that are dedicated to like that used to be dedicated to ancient goddesses, when they became Christianized, they now became dedicated to some kind of Christian saint, like saint, be it, I don't know, Mary Magdalene, or Mary, or a Saint Teresa, or saint, some kind of saint woman. And
Mm.
so that's usually a very good indication that probably prior to this Christian name, there used to be like an ancient goddess veneration site. And this is what I found really a lot in France and in Spain and even in Italy as well, because like this whole region used to be under like so many layers of different peoples who lived there. There were the Celts, the Visigoths, the Romans, and the Romans really brought the cult of Isis, right? So there was like actually this whole region, what we don't realize, but like the cult of Isis was like everywhere in southern France, in Spain, in Italy, like it was very, very present. And so when Christianity came along, very often they just kind of like rebaptized those places. But I do feel it really demonstrates this beautiful lineage of the feminine that is present and that is venerated and that is divinely honored on this specific spot on the earth for like thousands of years. And I do think they still carry this, you know, the activations and the codes that are connected with those places. And when you visit them, you really can feel like, for me in Montserrat, you really feel this very ancient, feminine, powerful, like mother-like, beautiful frequency over there. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I also been there, and what is the most beautiful place for me in Montserrat is the little chapel. If you walk down all the way, and then this little chapel in the end, oh, it's so powerful, beautiful, and energetic. Yeah, energetically very feminine.
Yeah, and I know if you actually go all the way up, I haven't explored because last time I went, I was with kids. So, with kids, like, mama style, like you can only explore so much. But I definitely do want to come back again there and explore because I know there is maybe like old monastery that used to be dedicated to Mary Magdalene, somewhere around there. So I would really love to go and explore this and see if I can find it and just
Oh,
really connect. And I
nice.
know there is also grottos somewhere around that mountain that are supposed to also be dedicated to Mary Magdalene. So this is also something that is on my list of like little rose petals to go and explore around the area.
Nice, super nice. And what do you feel, why is this region of the south of France so strongly connected to the goddess?
Um, well, I think there's many reasons. Like, I think historically, just it's a lot of the cults of Isis that got brought to this region because there was a lot of migration and a lot of exchanges with, within the Roman Empire, right, as well, and even pre-Roman Empire. So like the cult of goddess was already very much installed there. And I think also before the patriarchal, there's also a lot of cults for the gods. So like, don't take me wrong, like there is also, sites for gods, like Apollo and other gods. But I think because of this cultural exchange, there was a lot of sites that are dedicated to the goddess. And maybe it's just my own perspective because I focus on this, but I'm sure if I would be focusing on the masculine side, I would probably also find a lot of sites dedicated to the gods as well. And I feel like very often they're also connected to waters. Because if you start studying a little bit the mythology, waters are most often connected to the feminine
Yes.
and to the primordial mother. And so very often a lot of the sacred sites connected to the feminine, there will be some kind of body of water next to them. There will be like some kind of springs or rivers or some kind of sacred water fountains or wells. And so I did like a whole water priestess initiation, and I really like water is my element. I love working with water.
Me
And
too.
so, oh, that's beautiful. So you know that
Mm.
there's like a lot of sacred waters also connecting to the feminine. So a lot of those spots do have sacred water springs as well around. And um, yeah, I think it's just like a beautiful continuation. Like even if you think about like Celtic cultures, often they didn't build temples, they didn't build like any structures. Like for them, the veneration of the divine was really through the veneration. It was like very rooted in nature. And
Yeah.
so often for them, the bodies of water represented like where you could meet the goddess. And so then from the Celts, then they came the Romans, and then they came the Christians. And so like it's just this whole beautiful continuation of the goddess.
Unlayering, uncovering. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So and then
And
Mary Magdalene weaves in there as well. So
yeah, exactly. And what is your favorite water spot in your region?
my favorite water spot. I would have to say I really love, there's quite a few. There's a beautiful water spring that really, really spoke to me. I think to me, this was probably the sweetest, most loving water I ever met. And it's around Minerve. region. So already the town of Minaf, like you feel the goddess frequency even in the name. But not far from this town, there's like this beautiful little chapel, and I don't recall the name, but if you walk a little bit offward, there is like this little water spring that I think is just the most precious water I ever drunk and tasted in
Mm.
my life. It just has this beautiful frequency. And it is connected to like healings and very often healings of the eyes. And to me, the way I see it is like healings of the eyes, like for those who have eyes to see. So like I really believe that this is water that is connected to like helping us see the spiritual realms and like helping us see beyond the veil, you know. So this was like
Mm.
kind of like a coded word, but it's a water that is associated with like apparitions of Mary, and there's like this whole beautiful statue that is you know, believed to have been found where the chapel is now. And like this legend is that, you know, she just appeared and then the locals tried to move her away, but then she kept coming back to the same spot again and again. So then they built a chapel to her there. And then just like the miraculous water spring that appeared and like it was healing people from fear and like a fever and like helping them with the eyesight. But it's probably one of the most beautiful water springs I ever, because
Wow.
I say I met because I feel like I'm meeting them. I feel like they're like this, their own frequency and their own intelligence. And it's literally to me the way I work with water. It's like you're meeting the water, right? You're meeting their
Yeah.
code, you're meeting her intelligence, her wisdom, and also her medicine. So that's a very beautiful one. The one that is in Rennes le Chateau also is a very, very beautiful water spring. It's the red water spring that flows next to the Isis throne,
Mm.
which is also very beautiful and very potent, and I think so deeply connected to the feminine mysteries and to the blood mysteries. And to me, that specific water spring around the Isis throne really feels more like it has like a very like more ancient energy to me, like more like primordial mother type of energy. But I think everyone will feel whatever it is that they need to feel with this water. That's
Mm.
the medicine of the water as well. So yeah, and then there is a few other water springs that I met along the way in France, not just in the region of Rennes-le-Château, also more towards the north and where Rocamadour and
Oh
other
yeah.
popping places are, because there you can find the grottos, like one of the most ancient sites for the divination of the goddess, for the veneration of the goddess in the world was in that region, because they found grottos from like prehistorical times and they already had goddess veneration. So that's a whole other incredibly fascinating region of France that I love going and exploring. And there's like some very interesting water springs there as well. And yeah, so that's about a water
Beautiful.
springs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful that you're so, yeah, really working with the land that you're now living, you know, and that
Mhm.
you're really called to be there. Is there like, do you feel that you have clear what your assignment is of living there? Do you have like, how do
Mm.
you receive your, yeah, your guidance, and how do you know what to do next?
Oh, I love that question. I don't know what to do next. I continue unveiling the rose petals and see where they're taking me. But I really do believe that part of my path and part of like, because I really believe every human holds different codes and holds a different frequency. And that specific frequency is so precious and so sacred. And this is when we fully step into like deep soul alignment and we really embody like the true frequency of what we came here as humans to be as. And I really, I think, especially in the past like 10 years, I've been shedding so many layers of cultural system programs of like, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, to like step into the most so authentic version of myself that I can be. And I think this is also part of my medicine, is to help women remember that we are all oracles, that we have this power of connecting with land, with the spirit world, that we have this power of, you know, connecting with souls that have crossed across the veil as well, right? Like we all have those oracular abilities that for the longest time we have been disconnected from, and that we're not crazy for embodying them. We're not crazy for welcoming them back into our life. This is part of, you know, our birthright. And I think so many women have been disconnected from their spiritual side. And I can go for hours on how this happened. But I do think my mission is like, I see myself just as a steward of these lands, and like I connect with them, but as much as they want to invite me in, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's also having this deep reverence to the sites and to the places. And I think those places are calling in the women who are ready to embody their own inner oracles, who are ready to embody their own mystical women and the sacred women and the sacredness of, like, you know, women who stand in their spiritual sovereignty and who are not afraid of being openly spiritual and like openly woo-woo and
Mhm.
speak this truth and like remind us that we do have those gifts. And I do think, like, on a more logical and you know, scientific aspect, I think this is just about activating different parts of our brain that maybe we, you know, did not use for a long time. But I think I'm here to kind of be like the bridge between those places and helping women reactivate those memories, because I do think we do all know how to be that. We do all have this archetype of the priestess, of the sacred woman living in us. It's more, how much permission do you give yourself to step into that version of yourself? And so,
Exactly.
yeah, I work with those lands and with those places to really help women remember that, activate that, reclaim that, and lose the fear and of being judged, of being rejected, of being seen like as too crazy, as not good enough. Because I think we need safety, like we need a container of safety to
Yes.
really experience that version of ourselves and to
Mm.
be surrounded by women who are also on this path. And then you're like, oh, so I'm not alone. And I think this also comes back a lot for women, this fear of being rejected and shamed and judged for, you know, and on a deeper level, even like ancestral fear of being persecuted and
Mm.
punished for
Definitely.
stepping into that version of ourselves.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful mission. I
Mm.
can totally relate. And
Thank
I would like to ask you to close this down, to also connect to this divine feminine energy within, for instance, a meditation or something you feel drawn to share with us in this moment. Is there something that comes up for you that you can share with us?
you. You know what I would love to share is actually, for those who feel the call, I have a free workshop of
Mm.
priestess archetype activation. So this is really, it's almost like, I would say, good an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes. So we really go in depth on working with our own priestess archetype,
Mhm.
and to awaken her and to see what comes up in us when we activate this archetype within ourselves. And there's like a whole guided meditation and a journey to go deeper into that archetype within ourselves. And so, for those who do feel that they are on this path where they really want to connect to that aspect of themselves, I would love to invite you to come and grab, like, I'll send you the link. That's okay
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
your community.
sure.
And so they can definitely go, and like, it's a very in-depth, beautiful workshop specifically for that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so usually we close with something like a meditation or
Oh, so you wanted me? I didn't just, okay.
yeah,
Oh,
uh,
perfect. Yes.
but it's nice also that they
Yeah.
can do it later.
Yeah,
But maybe there's
absolutely.
also something you can do right now or something that
Yeah,
comes up for this moment.
absolutely.
And
Yes. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I did not understand your
No,
question
it's
properly.
okay.
Okay.
Wait, I will
Beautiful.
open the window
Um,
because it's so
what
hot
I could.
here. Oh, hoo. Ay, 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 that hurts. Mm. Wait a minute.
Okay, so one of the things I work on the most with women is around self-love, because I really do think that self-love is the basis of everything. And I do think the feminine, the path of the feminine, is through the body. And so when we feel at home in our bodies, when we learn to love our bodies, to honor our bodies, I think this creates the strongest foundation for everything else that we will ever create in our lives. And so today, what is coming through me is just to do like a little, dropping back in the body and connecting to the frequency of gratitude for our bodies, because I know, depending where we are on our journey with our body, sometimes we might not be able to tap into unconditional self-love. And so gratitude is such a beautiful frequency to start reprogramming the way we live in these body temples. And I do think the way we live in our body is also a mirror of the way we live on earth and of the way that we interact with everything around us. And so I would love to invite everyone to just close their eyes and take a deep breath in and breathe out, releasing any tension we might have around the shoulders, the eyebrows, our tongues, our jaws, our bellies. Just from head to toe, we can assign ourselves gratitude. We are the daughters of the primordial mother, and we are so loved and so worthy. So just say thank you, and imagine if you could just send this beautiful light and love and gratitude, this gratitude to our head, to our eyes for seeing, to our ears for hearing. There's different types of sights we can have: inner sight, outer sight, our mouth, for tasting, for speaking, for allowing us to have the capacity to communicate with the loved ones, to speak our truth. You're just gonna send, imagine this beautiful, like as if it was a frequency of like liquid honey pouring, that you're pouring over yourself with love and gratitude from your head all the way down to your toes, saying thank you, thank you, thank you, my body. And you can even give yourself like a big hug. Thank you to your arms, your shoulders, your chest. For the women, your breasts. We carry so many stories in your breasts. So many stories of not enoughness, of fear of disease, fear of rejection. And our beautiful breasts are just extensions of our heart. Just giving them so much love. And our back, for the things we carry on our backs. Maybe some things we can let go of and we don't need to carry on our back. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And our bellies, our beautiful bellies. We don't have to suck them in. We don't owe that to anyone. Just hold your beautiful belly. We hold so many fears in there, so many stories. And so thank you, our bellies, for holding all of this for us. And thank you for our powers of creation. And descending into our hips, our yonis, saying thank you. This is our throne of the feminine. Like imagine sitting really in your throne, descending there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to our legs that carry us, to our beautiful feet that hold us, that ground us on Mother Earth. All the journeys they brought us on, all the places we explored with them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for these body temples, for allowing us to have this experience of this earth. And they're just so ephemeral. We have them just for a blink of the time. And so thank you. Thank you. Rain, feeling more grounded in gratitude. Thank you, bodies, for allowing us to have this beautiful human experience. Come back.
Mm. Thank you. So nice to connect, to check in and to also, I also feel it's always nice to close like this because it's like an integration part as well, where all of that you received can sink in before you go on with your life.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the space to share. I really, really value this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all of your wisdom, for all of your knowledge, for this beautiful little self-love ritual. And we're definitely gonna share your what is it, masterclass?
Yeah, it's a masterclass around
Yeah.
activating our inner priestess. Yes.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna share this masterclass with all of you. And of course, we'd like to know what your biggest takeaway is, what you thought of this interview. If you have questions, please share them below. We will make sure that they will be answered. Also, yeah, all of it, all of you is welcome. So we'd like to receive you and all of your messages. And yeah, thank you so much. We see each other probably when I'm back in the south of France, which will be in July, because then I am hosting a new Mary Magdalene journey in the south of France. And yeah, we will stay there for a little longer. So I will definitely contact you.
Amazing. I would absolutely love to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.